to Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. Here are the reports and the latest news. First one on Hluttaw's discussion on providing special healthcare in villages. Next on government to include civics study in schools. A story coverage on petition advocating for every child everywhere in school campaign. And the last report on tourism in Bagan yet to improve. Before we get to the reports, why don't we have a look at what's happening in local news. Chairperson of the Border Area and National Racist Development Affairs Central Committee, State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, on Thursday attended the opening ceremony of a solar power plant in Myanmar, Rakhine State, and met with local people. The power plant with solar PV and energy storage system and a diesel hybrid system is part of corporate social responsibility efforts of POSCO International Corporation's Shui Natural Gas Project, and Phase 1 of the plant was implemented at a cost of $2.5 million. With 1,411 solar panels, 720 batteries, and a 2-hour energy storage system, the project will produce 0.5 megawatts of power and supply electricity to 1,435 households in 5 wards of Manaon and 3 nearby villages. Phase 2 of the project will be carried out with the assistance of the Korea International Cooperation Agency. Power supply through the national grid reached 50% of the country in December this year. The MSME agency held its first annual conference and launched the regional MSME action plans for collaboration of the central agency and its regional branches to promote MSME sector. Vice President U Min Sui delivered an address at the ceremony. The Vice President explained the reasons for drawing separate action plans for specific regions with different advantages and disadvantages, investment types and sizes, interests of business firms. Myanmar is implementing the ASEAN Strategic Action Plan for SME Development 2016 to 2025. Vice President U Min Sui also called for conducting capacity-building trainings and technology transfers to ensure smart businesses that use modern technologies for implementation. Commander-in-Chief of Defense Services, Senior General Myanmar Line, and the Myanmar Tamador delegation visited the Vietnamese Defense Ministry on Thursday. Senior General Myanmar Line and Senior Lieutenant General Pan Van Jiang held discussions on bilateral cooperation of the two militaries in anti-terrorism, marine rescue works, evacuation in natural disasters, exchange of information, and wider collaborations in other sectors. The senior general and party also held talks with Defense Minister General Ngo Xuan Lee on closer cooperation in both military and industrial sectors, promotion of ties between the two militaries, partnership in Tamador business firms, and expanding cooperation. The Joint Committee discussed the Chapter 13 State Flag, State Seal, National Anthem, and the Capital of the 2008 Constitution, and has discussed so far the chapter-wise suggestions for amending from the Chapter 1 Basic Principles of the Union to the Chapter 12. Amending of the Constitution including the preamble that was suggested by political parties and independent representatives. That's all with the local news, and here's the first report on Myanmar Today. At second time Amyoda Hluttaw 14th regular session, 18th day held on Thursday, a Hluttaw representative, U Koko 9, raised a question about providing special medical services twice a year to the remote areas, and Deputy Minister for Health and Sports responded to that question. Here's a report.
Amyoda Hluttaw held the 18th day of second time 14th regular session on 19th of December, and the Hluttaw representative U Koko 9 of Bagan Region Constituency 8 raised a question about the plan of providing special healthcare tour twice a year to the remote areas with difficult transportation for the residents' health.
In our country, there are 330 townships and over 60,000 villages. We can say that the transportation systems are getting better than before, but there are still some villages with difficult transportation and far from the urban area. The villagers there have to demand on the healthcare in charge. Because of the climate change, the villagers are suffering from natural disasters. Ready-made food, edible oil, and healthy food and artificial food are entering into the consumer market of the basic community with cheaper price. This is one of the challenges for public health, and the consequences have been affecting the people from the urban as well as rural areas.
With the strong causes of diseases and illness in remote areas, there are also challenges for them to receive treatment.
People in remote areas are lack of health knowledge and are not provided with enough health care. It is also difficult to take medical tests and they are also counting on the medical expense. They are also using folk medicine and illegal treatment. So, some are losing their lives without fatally severe syndromes. It is expensive for the villagers of remote areas to travel to the cities for the treatment and also difficult in transportation. They don't know how to go to hospitals in the cities as well. These are the challenges for the villagers' health in remote areas. To give better medical treatment and to discover the root of the diseases, it will be helpful for the villagers in the remote areas if we can provide the special medical treatment tour with specialists twice a year by gathering them in one designated village. So, I raised the question about the nation's plan in this regard.
Regarding with the question, Deputy Minister for Health and Sports, Hluttaw Zin, gave an answer explaining the current ground treatment in the rural areas.
Staffs from the Central and Regional Medical Services Departments, basic medical staffs, and gynecological staffs are carrying out field supervision in the sub-rural health centers as well as in the remote areas. This is the responsibility of the healthcare staffs. There are specialists serving at the regional and state hospitals. They are also providing treatments in the rural areas by gathering the villagers of the nearby places at one place, which is very effective for the residents' health there.
According to Hluttaw Zin, the data of the field medical treatment by the specialists during 3 years is that in 2017 there was medical services for 91 times in the villages to provide treatment for 38,156 patients. In 2018, the specialists went to the villages for 111 times for 49,271 patients. In 2019, the frequency increased to 153 times for the medical services for 37,373 patients.
Because of these activities, the illness can be diagnosed earlier. The treatment can be provided in accordance with the level of diseases. The patients can be transferred to the public hospitals for further treatment, and the elderly and the persons with disability can be treated at their places without traveling afar.
Moreover, she stated that the mobile tablets, including medical guides, references, giving awareness posters, and healthcare applications, are distributed to the healthcare staffs. That's all for now. This is Dora Susan from MI Radio.
That's a report on Hluttaw's discussion on providing special healthcare in villages. Alright, it's time now to check on the weather forecast in Myanmar. In Yangon, there's some sun. Air quality will be unhealthy for sensitive groups during the day. We can expect the highest temperature of 33 degrees Celsius and the lowest of 18 degrees Celsius. Still expecting just a little bit of winter cold at night, so enjoy while it lasts. In Naypyidaw, a nice weather with sunny conditions during the day. We expect the highest temperature of 31 degrees Celsius and the lowest of 15 degrees Celsius at night. There's winds of up to 6 kilometers per hour. In Mandalay, it's sunny to partly cloudy and pleasant during the day. Highest temperature being 30 degrees Celsius and the lowest being 14 degrees Celsius. Lovely weather to be in the city with partly cloudy sky at night. There's winds of up to 6 kilometers per hour. Well, we have another report coming up, and then we'll check on the stocks and currency exchange rates. With the aim to educate students with civics and democratic values, the Ministry of Education has already started the program providing learning of civics and democratic values at school from grade 7. However, according to the discussion in Hluttaw on Thursday, there is still weakness in implementing the program on educating the students on this subject. Williamson will tell us more.
In the process of transformation into a democratic nation, education plays an essential role, and this is where the students can learn the value of democracy. Democratic education is an educational ideal in which democracy is both a goal and a method of instruction. It brings democratic values to education and can include self-determination within a community of equals, as well as such values as justice, respect, and trust. Therefore, as Myanmar is in the midst of its transition into a democratic nation, it is also very much important that the younger generation learn the values and the attributes of democracy from their childhood. With a question on whether the government is planning to implement this democratic education to the students in Myanmar or not for middle or higher class, Hluttaw representative raised a question on this issue on 19th of December at second time 14 regular session. Raising a question at Hluttaw, Zin of Hluttaw constituency said,
ကျွန်တော်နိုင်ငံရဲ့ယာဂိုင်နှုန်းတော်တော်များမှာဆိုရှင်လွတ်တော်ရဲ့အခန့်ကဏ္ဍကိုတည်ရှိမှုအားနည်းနေပြီးမှလွတ်တော်ကိုယ်စားလှယ်များ၏တာဝန်တရားများကိုလည်းတည်ရှိမှုအားနည်းကြောင်းကိုလည်းသုံးသပ်တွေ့ရှိရပါတယ်အနာဂတ်လူငယ်များဆိုရှင်နောက်တစ်ချိန်မှာ
School is where we pass on the core values of democracy and other related educational values to the younger generation. However, seeing the present condition, there is no effective method in providing the democratic education to the students at schools. A huge percentage of the public are not aware of how Hluttaw is run and its procedures. As today's youth are the future leaders of our nation, in my personal opinion, we are still weak in educating the students about democracy values and how it functions. The reasons for why I ask this question are the hope of wishing to successfully transition into democratic nation, for the active participation of the public in Hluttaw, educating the younger generation about the procedures of Hluttaw, and finally, to be able to have purely federal nation. In a democratic nation, the citizens are both father and mother of a nation. Only when the citizens are well educated, then our nation will be strong.
In response to the question raised by Zin, Owen Matu, Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Education, he replied and explained.
အခြေခံပညာကဏ္ဍအခြေခံပညာသင်ယူညွှန်းတန်းအကျုံးပေါင်းတွင်ပါဝင်တဲ့ဒီအဓိကအခြေခံပညာရေးရည်မှန်းချက်များမှာပြည်သူ့နီတိနဲ့ democracy.
Some of the main goals of education include passing the values of civics and the core values of democracy to the students with the aim to make the public understand the importance of rule of law. Bringing up good citizens is the main goal of education. Therefore, from grade 7 onwards, we include learning of civics and democratic values in the textbooks. By learning those values, we hope that the students will practically use what they learn from the books and put that into action for the good of the public. We are also working on including civics and democratic related learning for grade 7 to grade 9 in the near future.
This is Zin reporting for MI Radio.
That's a report on the government to include civic study in schools. And now we have an information on currency rates from Myanmar Central Bank. $1 is at 1,503 kyats. 1 Chinese renminbi is at 214 kyats. 1 euro is at 1,673 kyats. 1 pound sterling is at 1,971 kyats. 1 Singapore dollar is at 1,109 kyats. 1 Malaysian ringgit is at 363 kyats. 1 Thai baht is at 49 kyats, and the Indian rupee is at 21 kyats. Gold is trading at $1,478. Silver is at $17. And Brent crude oil is at $61. On the Yangon Stock Exchange, FMI is at 11,500. MTSH remains at 3,800. MCB is at 8,100. FPB remains at 23,000. TMH remains at 2,900. You're with MI Radio's Myanmar Today. You can log on to our website at miradio.com.mm and catch many other great programs of MI Radio on the website. We're also running on 96.1 FM in Yangon, 96.5 in Manali, and 96.7 in Naypyidaw. Alternatively, you can download our app on both iOS and Android platforms. It's easy to search. Just type in Myanmar INTL radio and you'll find the app. Download it on your devices so you can listen to our radio programs on the go. Stay with us as we bring you more reports on Myanmar Today. To gain awareness about children being out of school, ADRA International has started the campaign Every Child, Everywhere in School, which they request the signing for the petition. ADRA Myanmar also actively participated with the aim of collecting minimum of 7,000 signatures. So the petition signing event took place in Yangon on Monday at Myanmar Plaza. Hluttaw Zin reports.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency, ADRA, has launched the petition signing event for Every Child, Everywhere in School campaign at Myanmar Plaza on 16 December. This is the global advocacy campaign targeting at school children around the world to attend and complete the school and claim their right to education. It is stated that 262 million children around the world are not getting their right to attend the school. The children who are out of school are also facing the difficulties such as human trafficking, being forced to early marriage, and child labor. Being aware of the issues, ADRA International has launched the campaign earlier this year with the aim of collecting 1 million signatures by June of 2020.
So enough with the screams and the bullet blasts. In school, I feel safe from the violence at last.
Enough with the bricks and the heat of the day. In school, I can finally learn, eat, and play.
Enough with the storms that cause chaos and pain. In school, we keep learning in spite of the rain.
Enough with the lonely days, all on my own. In school, I have friends and a welcoming home.
Enough with the girls who are forced to be wives.
In school, girls take back the control of their lives.
ပညာမသင်နိုင်တာကတော့အကြောင်းအမျိုးမျိုးရှိတယ်ပေါ့တချို့ကလည်းဒီကျန်းမာရေးအခက်အခဲကြောင့်တချို့ကလည်းခန္ဓာကိုယ်
Children are losing their chance to attend school because of their health, disability, or low economy of the family. In some remote areas, the difficult transportation is one of the reasons. So in rural areas or in conflict areas, there are not enough teachers and children cannot get their right to learn. We can see that the government is trying to work together with the locals to send more teachers to those areas, and the teachers are striving to be in these remote areas with difficult living and transportation. But it is not still enough, so that we have to put more effort to help them. We want to show that the effort for the children to have access to education is not only wanted by organizations like us, but also the public are interested in and participating as well. We target to get 10,000 signatures in Myanmar. At least we must have 7,000 signings, and the more the public sign, the better it is. The signing events are launched in some areas. We have already got about 4,000 so far.
Matsosu Duza, who is a student and also a volunteer of ADRA, mentioned her opinion about the petition signing event.
You may think a signature of yours is nothing. It takes only a few seconds to finish it. But it can make a huge impact for children all around the world. When we report this petition to the responsible leaders, the world will be more aware of, and the children will get support from different organizations.
The petition can be also signed online on the website of ADRA Advocacy. Addressing the purpose of the campaign, ADRA International stated to promote the importance of education for the most disadvantaged children, such as who are living in remote areas, conflict zones, or who are in extreme poverty and who are facing discrimination because of their gender, disability, and ethnicity.
every child
everywhere
just like me,
can find hope in school
where we learn to be free.
That's all for now. This is Thora Suisin from MI Radio.
That's a report on Petition advocating for Every Child, Everywhere in School campaign. And here's the last report on tourism in Bagan yet to improve. With the recognition of Bagan as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO a few months ago, the locals in Bagan and the government hoped to draw more tourists to Bagan. However, according to the reports by the locals in Bagan, recognizing Bagan as a World Heritage Site has not made much difference in Bagan. In fact, the number of tourists visiting Bagan daily remains the same. Williamson has the details.
Driving e-bike through hundreds and thousands of pagodas, stupas, and watching the sunrise in the dawn or watching the sunset in the evening, riding hot air balloon, and also enjoying the hospitality of the locals are some of the most main reasons why Bagan stands as the most visited place in Myanmar. In addition to above mentioned things to enjoy in Bagan, Bagan also has some of the most important historical and significant heritage sites where we can learn the rich history, culture, and pious society in the primitive time of Bagan. Therefore, it is no wonder that it is the most visited place in Myanmar by both tourists from abroad and local. Myanmar is a country with roughly 4 million tourists in a year from abroad, and it is improving step by step. Recognizing Bagan as World Heritage Site on 6th of July in 2019 is a major achievement for tourist industry in Myanmar to attract more tourists to Myanmar. But let's hear out first why people visit Myanmar. Speaking to MI Radio what she finds attractive in Myanmar, Miss Loha, a French tourist who was at Shezi Gombagoda, said,
I know some people come Myanmar and like a lot. Beautiful, amazing, and the people are so friendly.
However, according to the locals and tourist guides in Bagan, recognizing Bagan makes a very little change in tourism. Speaking to the media, U Tan Te, the chairman of Myanmar Bagan Nyong U Tourist Guide Association, who has been involving in working with different organizations for the development of tourists in Bagan, said,
Even after Bagan was recognized as World Heritage Site by UNESCO, the tourism has not improved here as it is expected. Previously, the tourists used to come here through travel agents, but now it has changed. With the coming of technology, tourists make their own way by booking hotels through online. The tourists come to Myanmar in their own way, and compared to the previous years, it is quite less in number.
According to U Tan Te, last year around 200,000 tourists visited Bagan, and for this year, after some efforts made by the Ministry of Hotels and Tourism, where some countries have visa exemption and other countries have access to visa on arrival, approximately 1,500 to 2,000 Chinese tourists come to Bagan daily. The coming of Western tourists has been continuously low in number. Speaking on what could be the reason why Myanmar is not attracting tourists like other neighboring countries, U Tan Te also explains.
Tourist attraction
The main weakness we have in attracting tourists is we don't do enough promotion programs about tourism in Myanmar. As we compare to other neighboring countries such as Thailand and Cambodia, we need to strengthen our tourist promotion activities. To be honest, there is one and only Bagan in the whole world, and this is where we have plenty of heritage sites related to Buddhism, and this is the best spot in Myanmar to attract tourists. Due to insufficient pilot study in the initial state, pagodas and stupas are the only attraction we have here, but we don't have any other new creation, which is also important tool in attracting tourists. We have to bring innovations for tourism in Bagan where we can provide some good experiences for the tourists.
According to U Tan Te, some of the domestic tourists who visit Bagan don't keep etiquette well and they throw trash everywhere they go. Speaking on this matter, he also explains.
တန်ရှင်းနဲ့ပတ်သက်လို့ကတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့မြန်မာတွေမှာအလေးကျင့်မရှိတာပေါ့နော်
When it comes to cleanliness, many of us are not used to following the rules, where to throw litter, and keeping our environment clean. When we look at other foreigners, they don't dump the waste until they find the dustbin. Dumping the waste everywhere we want makes Bagan dirty, and it gives a bad impression to the forest.
In order to keep Bagan clean, every week plastic campaign is held by a group of volunteers to collect waste in Bagan, and this is also spreading awareness about dumping waste. Despite above all mentioned facts, Bagan remains one of the best tourist destinations for the tourists. This is Williamson reporting for MI Radio.
And that's all the reports on Myanmar Today. We still have some time left, so let's move on with international news. A crisis is engulfing the Mekong River. Its banks are collapsing and 500,000 people are at risk of losing their homes. The entire ecosystem of its Southeast Asian river is under threat, all because of the world's insatiable demand for sand. Extracted from the bed of this giant river in Cambodia and Vietnam, sand is one of the Earth's most sought-after resources. Up to 50 billion tons are dredged globally every year, the largest extractive industry on the planet. River scientists at Southampton University, Professor Stephen Darby's studies on the lower Mekong show its bed has been lowered by several meters in just a few years, over many hundreds of kilometers, all in the quest for sand. From highways to hospitals, sand is the essential component for industries as varied as cosmetics, fertilizers, and steel production, and particularly for cement. In other news, a third of the poorest countries in the world are dealing with high levels of obesity as well as undernourishment, which leaves people too thin, according to a report in The Lancet. It says the problem is caused by global access to ultra-processed foods and people exercising less. The authors are calling for changes to the modern food system, which they believe to be driving it. Countries in sub-Saharan Africa and Asia are most affected. The report estimates that nearly 2.3 billion children and adults on the planet are overweight, and more than 150 million children have stunted growth. And many low and middle-income countries are facing these two issues at once, known as the double burden of malnutrition. This means that 20% of people are overweight, 30% of children under 4 are not growing properly, and 20% of women are classified as thin. The report says communities and families can be affected by both forms of malnutrition as well as individual people at different points in their lives. Experts are warning that people eating a vegan diet need to make sure they get enough B12 because the risk of deficiency is not a myth. They were speaking ahead of Veganuary when increasing numbers turned to a vegan diet each January. The diet is generally high in fiber and low in cholesterol, but some nutrients are harder to get enough of, including B12. The Vegan Society said it was available in supplements or fortified foods. Adults need around 1.5 micrograms of B12 a day. It is found in meat, fish, eggs, and dairy products, but not in fruits, vegetables, or grains. So those eating a vegan diet are advised to eat fortified foods like cereals or take supplements. B12 deficiency, which can lead to nerve damage, tends to take 3 or 4 years to cause symptoms, usually first appearing as pins and needles in the hands or feet. And that's a wrap on today's Myanmar Today. Thanks for joining me. I'm Henry Zin. See you again.